Live from the Interaction Media Studio in Morgantown, welcome to the Positively West Virginia Small Business Mastermind. I'm your host, Jim Matuga. It's Friday, May 14th, 2021. For those of you joining us live on Facebook, welcome and thanks for tuning in. We have a great mastermind panel for you today. Every week at this time, we gather like-minded business leaders from around the state of West Virginia to discuss some of the most relevant business topics of today. And we welcome your live comments and questions. Just type those in the comment section of Facebook Live. Positively West Virginia is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. You can learn more about our mission of advancing small business and entrepreneurship in West Virginia at positivelywv.com. Positively West Virginia Small Business Mastermind is brought to you by the State Journal, wvnews.com, and Interaction Media. Of course, we're streaming this program live on Facebook through our entire statewide distribution network with our media partner, wvnews.com. And today, as I mentioned, we have a great panel lineup for you guys this morning. Joanna Reynolds is one of the owners at Warhead Off-Road. Joanna, welcome to the show today.
Thanks, Jim. Happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chris Reynolds, co-owner of Warhead Off-Road. Chris, welcome as well.
Thank you.
And of course, we have Ryan Angus rejoining us. He's been a couple of time guest on this show. He's an assistant professor of entrepreneurship at the West Virginia University John Chambers College of Business and Economics. Ryan, welcome as well, man. Great to see you again.
Good to see you. Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, we're going to have a great discussion today, and I can't wait to dive in. But first, I want to give our viewers a little background. The first of its kind in the Mountain State, the Seed WV contest, made possible by the West Virginia University John Chambers College of Business and Economics, gave 20 West Virginia residents, innovators, entrepreneurs, businesses, and nonprofits from across the state of West Virginia the opportunity to win $15,000 in seed money to move their innovative business ideas to market. Warhead Off-Road is a business based over in Hazleton, West Virginia, in Preston County, and they're creating new utility vehicle, like UTVs, utility terrain vehicles, aftermarket products to align with West Virginia's outdoor economy. And of course, that kind of ties into the Ascend West Virginia or Ascend WV remote worker program that we've been talking about on this show. Warhead Off-Road, they were awarded $7,500 as the first place prize for seed funding that will allow them to expand their team so that they can contribute and continue to scale their business. I think that's incredible. We have WVU putting the seed money together. We're going to learn how that money came about. And then these guys, Joanna and Chris, are the recipients of $7,500. So guys, that's our starting point for the conversation today. Before we dive into that, that background information, I want to know, first of all, Joanna and Chris, how are you guys coming to the call today? How are you doing? How's your business going?
It's good. We actually just got done right before this call putting a new cage on a customer's side-by-side and what we call a bunker buster on it. So the bumpers and the kickers. So they're still finishing that up across the street at the shop. So it's booming. We're busy.
It's a good day in Preston County. I love it. Chris, how about you, man? How are you doing?
Pretty good. We're a little tired. We were there till 9:30, 10 o'clock last night, making sure this thing was all put together. So the guy could go up and get it all installed. So
you're not an entrepreneur unless you're really tired all the time.
Yeah, we try not to be, but
yeah.
I'm just messing with you. Ryan, how are you coming to the call today, man?
Doing great. Just wrapped up the semester and looking forward to hopefully not sitting in the rain at commencement on Sunday.
No doubt. Yeah. Hopefully the rain will hold off for that. And it's an exciting time here in Morgantown for sure with across all college campuses and high school campuses as we have commencement and graduation services this time of year. So guys, I want to talk to Chris and Joanna first about their business. And I want to get a sense of what exactly you guys do. I gave a little tee up there, and I hope I got all that right, but I want to let our viewers know exactly what it is you guys do. I mean, obviously the side-by-side market, the utility terrain vehicle, UTV market, the four-wheeler market in West Virginia has been booming, especially over the pandemic. I want to learn about your business. And then Ryan, we're going to shift into the CWV campaign and that program. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how all of this is benefiting everybody, right? How we're all coming together on this campaign. So Joanna, Chris, I would love to hear your, your background on your company. How did you guys, first of all, give us your 30-second pitch and what it is you do. And then I would love to explore how you came up with this idea to start this company. So take it away.
Well, we build aftermarket components for the side-by-sides that really aim to protect the unit and also make it look really good at the same time. We notice that a lot of our competitors, they build nice looking products, but they aren't all that strong. So we set out to do both, and our name speaks for itself, and the strength of our products. So,
yeah. So how did you come up? First of all, how long have you been in business?
The warhead side of things has been in business since December of 2019.
Okay, cool.
And that it's kind of a funny story. That's not really where I was headed with the business. I actually have the company that owns Warhead is called High Octane Industries. That's my little parent company, and I'm more of a hot rod, four-wheel drive, diesel kind of guy. And I had a friend that I had just met actually, and he got a new unit it's new on the market. It was a Honda side-by-side, and nobody made components for him. So he's reached out and said, hey, you want to build components for this thing and see what happens? So I built a bumper and some stuff like that. And then I put it on Facebook. I got another order, and then I started redesigning things a little bit. And then 3 months later, I got my first real big order. So that was kind of exciting. And then the day the stimulus checks came out, which was like April 17th of last year, not that I recall exactly what day that was, we got 8 orders that day, and it's been pretty much straight up since then.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible story. I mean, I love that. And obviously you're solving a need, for providing a solution to somebody's problem, right? They want their side by side to look cool, but also be functional and maybe protect it and increase the longevity of it, but it also looks cool, and your products are super cool. What's your website so folks can follow along? We'll drop a link into the show notes as well.
www.warheadoffroad.com.
warheadoffroad.com, guys. If you could put that in the show notes, that'd be awesome. So yeah, that's super cool. Joanna, what's your contribution? How do you fit into Warhead Off-Road?
She runs it.
Yeah, I would say I'm a certified project manager, so I probably pull skills in from that. But I kind of maintain what orders we have, coordinate what gets built, what gets the powder coating schedule, the shipping schedule. I guess maybe binding it all together to make sure that we're getting things out when we need them out and who they go to and that kind of thing.
That's awesome. Now you guys are located in Hazleton, over by the prison there in Preston County. And Joanna, I understand you're originally from West Virginia, right?
Yeah.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Brewston Mills. My parents are small business owners. They had a store on High Street, downtown Morgantown. So I went to school in Morgantown my whole life. So I wasn't in Brewston Mills as much as probably Morgantown, but I went to WVU, got my degree in petroleum engineering, went out into the oil field for several years, met this guy. We've lived all over the country and the world, really. We've spent years in the Middle East. And then, yeah, so we decided to move back, almost 2 years coming up. I'm glad we moved back before Corona hit. Yeah. So I'm
glad you guys moved back too. This is awesome. So what store did your folks have on High Street?
They have Morgantown Phone Center and Arrow Gift Shop.
Very cool. I mean,
Yeah.
so awesome. So you come from an entrepreneurship family. I love that aspect. Chris, how about yourself? I know you're not from West Virginia. Talk a little bit about your background.
Well, I grew up in Alberta, Canada. So I'm an immigrant, I guess you could call it. My parents are actually entrepreneurs as well. My dad is I grew up on a farm to start, so that's entrepreneurship in its own way. And then my dad had excavating company with skid steers and gravel trucks, and I learned to do all that from him. My mom runs her own accounting firm thing, so it's been pretty much work for yourself.
That's
My whole
awesome.
family. I came down to the States 10 years ago. I worked for Halliburton, uh, and I was running hydraulic fracturing crews, and we brought one down here to service while we were slow, and I just never went home.
Yeah, it's super cool. I've been to Alberta before, once. It was one of the most amazing trips of my life. A beautiful country. We were up in, we went to Banff,
Hmm.
which I think is in Alberta.
It
And
is, yeah. I grew up 2 hours from Banff.
okay, have you ever been to this place called Mount Assiniboine?
I have been in Mount Assiniboine, yeah.
Yeah, we did I did a backpacking trip with a bunch of guys. We do like a Bible study, and then we go out in the wilderness and survive for 4 or 5 nights.
Mhm.
They dropped us off in a helicopter there at Mount Assiniboine National Park, and then we had to hike out for 4 days to get back to civilization. It was pretty awesome. But
Yeah, well, we just called it wilderness. We go out there, set up the canvas tents over the big sticks, and we bathe in the river and stuff,
yeah,
which sets me up for them deep freeze cold winter lake jumps.
that's great stuff. Well, I'm glad to know somebody from that area, Chris. That's super cool. So thanks, guys, for that background. I think it's very interesting. Part of your story is this entrepreneurship households that you guys grew up. You guys are now entrepreneurs, but you grew up as entrepreneurs as well in those types of families. Ryan, I want to shift over to you. I want to first of all, you're a professor of entrepreneurship at the John Chambers College of Business and Economics at WVU, which I think is fascinating. You must see so many cool things happening in the world. I would love to get your background on this CWV, and I know you and I've talked about this a little bit, but give our listeners a little background of how this project came about. This is the first year that you've launched this, and I'd like to know the background of how this came about.
Sure. So I arrived here 3 years ago, and part of my role as an assistant professor of entrepreneurship is I've been asked by the dean to engage in some outreach activities, and Dean Reyes gave me a great deal of flexibility up front in trying to figure out what that role would be. And so I kind of took an assessment of, so as a land grant institution, we have a lot of programs that service the state. So we have Vantage Ventures that's helping the high tech, trying to find the next unicorn or fintech startup. And we have the Encova Center, where they're really interfacing with kind of the Main Street type of business like Joanna's parents, had down there on Main Street or High Street in Morgantown. And, we have the Launch Lab that helps the students, and have a Maker Lab and all these great services and programs. But what we didn't really seem to have was a program that reached out to kind of the entrepreneurs and small businesses outside the walls of the university that didn't necessarily fit into the Main Street box, and they didn't necessarily fit into the next tech unicorn box. So there's a huge area in between. And so I thought, well, let's try and come up with a program that could help these folks. And I kind of borrowed a lot of these ideas. So I worked in economic development in the state of Utah a number of years ago, and had run similar programs. And so I thought, well, this would be a good place to slot it in here in West Virginia.
Awesome. I love that. And so I mentioned the prize money. Talk a little bit about the specifics of the prize money, and then we're going to talk a little bit about how Warhead Off-Road is using that $7,500 that they were awarded.
Yeah, so we were able to give away $15,000, which was provided through the James Clark Kaufman Endowment at WVU. So this was a generous donation that was made, and so the dean has allocated some of these funds to supporting that. And yeah, so we had $15,000, and perhaps we can get into this later, but I'd really like to, I thought we had a very successful first year with the program, and very interested in finding ways to grow this pot of money for future iterations of the program. I just wish we could have given away more money to our winners, or maybe even had more winners, because there were so many good ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, Ryan, you're the James Kaufman Fellow in entrepreneurship. in entrepreneurship studies at WVU. Who in the heck is James Kaufman? For those of us who don't know.
Yeah, I don't know too much about this. I'm probably the wrong person to ask. The relationship is primarily held by the dean, but from my understanding, he was a World War II veteran that came back and then started a business that was supplying defense contracts here in the state and became a very successful businessman.
Yeah.
And then wanted to give back through this endowment that was created at WVU.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's incredible. Just in a couple of sentences, that explanation. So that's very cool. So, Chris and Joanna, you guys won the competition. Did the group learn, or how were you selected? What was the basis of that, and how did you learn about this $7,500 award that was coming to you?
Well, we had been talking to our local Preston County Economic Development Authority, and Robbie there suggested that they had this new competition out that we apply for it. So I looked at it, and we seemed to meet the criteria. So I filled out the application, and then we ended up getting selected as a finalist. And they told us we had to do a video, which I think we're both kind of new at that. So we grabbed one of the side-by-sides that we completely accessorized and did the video that was required, and kind of walked around and showed our products off. I guess it impressed the judges enough to win. But yeah, there were a lot of good other products out that were with us. So we were a little surprised that we won, actually, but
that's awesome. When I first learned about this whole story, well, I knew about CWV because Ryan and I have talked about it, but I first saw the story on Fox Business. It was a national story. You guys are getting like millions of dollars worth of publicity for free by winning this award, which I think is cool. And it's also great publicity for WVU and the John Chambers College of Business and Economics and all the work that Ryan's doing with advancing entrepreneurship in West Virginia. Ryan, can you talk a little bit about some of the criteria for the judging and maybe kind of give the backstory on how these guys were chosen?
Yeah, I was kind of laughing when Joanna was talking about the video, because I don't think the video is why he won, because they were new to the video and their video wasn't that great. So
That's pretty bad.
Love it.
Kind of sucked. And
love it.
But this is a good example of how things unfold in ways we don't really anticipate, right? Because while the video may have been a bit rough, their performance in the Q&A session that was held after the video was exceptional. And it seemed that they had a very legitimate business and just extremely strong demand for their products. And their problem was, well, shoot, we just can't hire enough fabricators to make these cages fast enough. And Chris, I recall him saying during that process, we're just like every business. We can't hire enough people to keep up with demand. And I said, man, I know a lot of businesses that wish they had that problem. And so they had a very strong performing there. But the criteria in general for the program were, basically the instructions I gave the judges were, we are looking for a solid base hit or a double. We're not looking to try and hit a home run, right? Where can we put $10,000 or $7,500 in this case, where someone could actually make a measurable return on investment, and we could show what a difference we can make with a small amount of money, and then we can use this to grow the program in the future. And the judges felt that Warhead best met that criteria, and so they were chosen as the winner. But as they said, there were great alternatives to that, and it was a tough choice for sure.
That's awesome. So Chris, Joanna, we hear on this podcast, this mastermind group, I also do a weekly show called Positively West Virginia, and that's how we started out. We've been doing this since 2017, telling stories of successful entrepreneurs in the hopes of inspiring other people just like you guys to say, look, let's move back to West Virginia. Let's start a company. Let's get something going here. Encourage our young people to stay here, because I hate it when I see somebody leave our state. That's one of our big issues that we're facing as a culture here in West Virginia. And I personally was not born here in West Virginia, but I got here as quickly as I could. I always like to say that. But the point is that, one of the things we hear time and time again, just about every episode, is this concept of how hard it is to access capital to grow. Now, granted, this is not $75,000; it's $7,500, but it's still significant, right? It's still a lot of money, especially for a company that has started in 2019. What does this 7,500? What are you guys doing with that capital?
Well, as every business owner knows, your biggest expense is your people. So, for the most case, so we need to hire an engineer or somebody with like-minded fabricating skills as myself. And we're not going to grow until we find that person. So we're going to use that money to hire. We're looking for a mechanical engineer, fresh grad that has CAD skills and can 3D model and do all stress analysis and things like that. So we're going to use that money to pay the salary, so it's not a big hit to us while they're in the training phase.
That's awesome, man. I love that. And there's a fresh crop of mechanical engineers coming out of the engineering school at WVU right now. So hopefully one of those guys is listening, gals could hear this and say, hey, that sounds like something I want to get involved with. So, from your all's perspective, what's one of the big challenges you're facing right now? I'm not saying you're a startup, but you're still in that startup phase, so to speak. When you're in the second year, I feel like that's still a startup phase of a company. Talk a little bit about where you guys are and what's some of the big challenges you're facing right now.
Well, we're still noticed that the activities are very cyclic. So we had a really, really big March, and then April was pretty big, and then May has been just about dead. So it's very, very cyclic. In the current conditions that we're at right now, the steel prices have almost tripled since this time last year. And when we ship our products, we try and go a step above our competitors. We actually make wooden crates for all of our products. Well, we all know the price of lumber has gone up. So while trying to be competitive with our pricing, even though we can charge a little bit of a premium because our products they're just built better and people are starting to realize that, you can't jack the prices up that high with the price of the materials. So still trying to find a way to be more efficient, get things out quicker, so you're still making money on the bottom line with these raising prices. It's a bit of a challenge, but we're still managing. We're making money still, so
that's great.
That's the important part.
Yeah, it's great to hear that you guys are being able to navigate through that. What's Joanna, from your perspective, what's the best-selling product that you have right now? What's like the thing that you're known for?
I think it's our tree kickers at the moment.
It is.
Talk a little bit about what the heck is a tree kicker?
Yeah. So they go along basically the running boards of the side by side. If you're driving through the woods or rocks, you're going to rub up against trees or go across rocks sticking out, and those will just tear into the sides of your side by side. And so ours are really tough. They go the whole distance between the wheels. And I mean, we have them on our own vehicle, so we hit them all the time. Like, they get used.
We use them to navigate sometimes. The 4-seaters are longer.
Yeah.
Obviously. And with that, people, especially if they're new drivers, because the side-by-side market's been taking off. A lot of the drivers it's their first side-by-side. Well, they want to pile the family in there. And they get everybody going. They get these 4-seaters. They're out in the woods and the trails are tight. And you'll see pictures on Facebook all the time. They've ripped the back fenders clear off. They're ripping the tires off the back. Our kickers, they're just designed in such a way where they will push the vehicle out. So you can actually use this piece of equipment and navigate around the trees and stuff. And we make it thick enough so it doesn't dent or bend. And it actually makes the frame more rigid.
That's awesome. Ryan, I'm sitting here thinking as these guys are talking about their products, they have such a passion for this. You could tell that they get out in the woods in their own side by side and they're testing the products themselves. And that's gotta be, I don't know. I get exhilarated just listening to them talk about their products because they're living it. And from an entrepreneur standpoint, as a professor of entrepreneurship, give us some insight into that, and how important is that for business owners?
Passion is really important, and a lot of the research shows it's particularly important when you're trying to enroll a stakeholder, right? Like, Seed West Virginia to give you money or get someone to come work for you, because passion is closely related to persistence, right? So if someone's passionate about something, it's likely, Chris and Joanne aren't just going to, abandon this at the first sign of trouble, right? They're going to stick it out because they're passionate about this, and so it helps in a lot of ways, and it also helps. You can tell the difference even in a written application to a contest like Seed West Virginia. It comes through even there. And it's just so important for people to try and communicate that whenever they're talking about their business, because you never know who wants to buy your product or become an investor or some kind of stakeholder.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that from an academic standpoint. It makes a lot of sense. But then in practical, pragmatic example of that is just the way that you guys talk about your product. So Chris and Joanna, I really appreciate that. Our guest today for the Positively West Virginia Small Business Mastermind is Joanna Reynolds and Chris Reynolds. They're the owners of Warhead Off-Road. They're the recipients of $7,500 first prize from the Seed West Virginia CWV contest that was held by the John Chambers College of Business and Economics. Ryan Angus is our other guest, and he's our panelist today, assistant professor of entrepreneurship at the WVU College of B&E. So, guys, I really appreciate you guys sharing your thoughts here on your business. One of the things that I wanted to talk about is, I feel like entrepreneurship is a big thing right now, and I feel like there's a lot of attention being talked about this. We have people like John Chambers, the namesake for the College of Business and Economics. He was just on this very show about a month and a half ago, and we had an opportunity to spend an hour with him. We had a half an hour prior to the show, and then an hour live stream on this mastermind. And one of the things that he talked about that I thought was really cool was how West Virginia as a state is perfectly poised to capitalize on the post-pandemic economy, if you will. And he talked about this fact that there is a very narrow window of probably 2 to 3 years of where we have an opportunity here to attract people, to maybe move back to West Virginia, just like Chris and Joanna have done, to expand entrepreneurial opportunities, to take advantage of major projects that are coming down the pike, like the Virgin Hyperloop over in Tucker County. And I think about that, and I think about Ascend West Virginia and the opportunity to this incentive that through the provost office at WVU and others. There's opportunity to attract people to come here, but real opportunity, I think, is really what people are drawn to. And so, Chris, Joanna, I'd love to get your thoughts on, from a perspective of entrepreneurs and people who are actually creating jobs and doing, creating demands for your products. What are some things you would tell people if they're thinking about West Virginia? What are some of the things that you would encourage them to, some reasons why you would encourage them to come here and start a company, or if they're already here, to do that?
Well, as we've been finding out in the recent, I guess, month or two, I mean, since we've done the Seed West Virginia, there's a lot of resources that we really had no idea about, that extend beyond. I mean, we know our economic development authority locally, but we've met with the West Virginia Development Authority. And then, so there's a lot of resources we've come to find out, and I wish I haven't even gotten into all of them yet or explored them. So I wish I could tell you more about more things. So I don't want to say it's not as hard as you think it would be, because it is hard, but there's a lot of assistance and ways to get help offered by different state I don't know, state,
Entities.
entities.
Yeah, agencies.
Um,
I think about like the Small Business Administration. I'm
Yeah.
working on a project right now with the West Virginia SBDC, Deborah Martin and her team, and the team of coaches that they have in every corner of the state of West Virginia, and the amazing work that they're doing. I think, Joanna, what I'm hearing you say is, you don't have to come here and do it alone. You have people that are willing to help you and walk alongside you, run alongside you, right, to help you advance your business, your company.
Yeah, exactly. And that's encouraging, because it can be daunting thinking that we're doing it all on our own, with all our own resources and time. So
Yeah.
One
And I
thing
think,
I've learned about West Virginia people is their willingness to support small business goes to almost no end. The sense of community, especially in where we're at, it's unreal. And I come from Canada. We've been all over the world, and I've never actually felt a sense of community or the support that we get from all these people, and even wanting to buy local. It's a pretty incredible thing being in West Virginia like that.
that's awesome, man. I love those thoughts. Thanks, Chris. Ryan, I would like to shoot back over to you and get your thoughts on that very question, and kind of Joanna's thought and Chris's thought about relating to, doing business in West Virginia. What are some things that you're seeing here and learning more about West Virginia, especially as it pertains to entrepreneurship, starting companies and growing companies?
Yeah, I don't know how detailed you want to go down this road, so I'll let you kind
Yeah.
of dictate that through
Yeah,
this.
go
But,
for it, man. I love the thoughts.
one of the reasons I came here, my decision to relocate was obviously complex, but one of the main reasons was I got on the internet and I saw, well, shoot, I can do all kinds of whitewater rafting. I'm a big mountain biker. I can mountain bike. I can rock climb. I can still ski. Like all the things I did out west, I can do here. And so this is actually kind of the genesis of the Ascend WV program, right? I was actually there on the day this thing was birthed in March of 2020, and kind of helped conceptualize the program. And it was based on a strategy of, well, shoot, West Virginia, as we saw in the census, we lost more population than any other state. So this is a tremendous problem. What solutions do we have that would give us a source of competitive advantage, right, over other areas? And so one of those things is this unique access to mountain biking, rock climbing, and whitewater. So these are all three activities that are becoming increasingly popular, and especially among the younger generation that we're trying not to lose, right? And that we're trying to attract to the state. And so this is one of those things, you can't just build whitewater. You can't just build actual rock climbing. So other states can't replicate this. There are areas in North Carolina or out west where this can happen, but it's really unique and really valuable. And hopefully it'll help attract people here, and they will start businesses and they'll want to stay. I've only been here 3 years. I don't really see myself leaving, right? And it's just a great place once you're here. You just got to get people here is the problem.
Absolutely. Of course, with the wonderful gift that Brad and Elise Smith gave to West Virginia University through the Provost's office, the Outdoor Economic Development Collaborative was born and birthed and so forth. And, obviously last year, starting in March or so in West Virginia, and just what I've seen, people I've talked with every week, the demand for things like bicycles and kayaks and recreational vehicles such as campers and side-by-sides, right? The market exploded, right? You couldn't find a camper in West Virginia if you wanted to buy one, right? And so, guys, I would like to know from Chris and Joanna's standpoint, how did that situation? First of all, did you experience that and that demand, and do you feel that helped with the launch of your business taking off and really succeeding?
Well, as you probably watched on the Fox Business Network, that's kind of the similar last question that she gave me, and it has a couple answers. So the problem, we got into this business just slightly before the pandemic took off, and I think the side-by-side manufacturers had believed that they were going to not sell their units, so they dropped prices, went to 0% financing, and they sold them all out. Well, I don't think they saw that coming, and all the manufacturers actually shut down. So New units became slow to come by. The demand is really high and the supply is terrible. So as our popularity grew with our products, we weren't overwhelmed with just you can't just go get a unit right now. All the dealerships that I know, they don't have any in stock.
Yeah.
So that's been like that all year. So that kept our activity probably at a sustainable level where we didn't shoot ourselves in the foot by taking on too much work, and because I have a tendency to not say no. So and now that it's actually getting worse now. You can't get any units. There's people on 6-month wait to get these units. So
Wow.
our business growth is depending on these new units coming out. So I imagine that in the end of the year, when the production gets back up, we're going to be on the way to the moon.
Yeah, no doubt. Joanna, what were you going to say?
Well, a lot of our sales do, like, people buy these accessories to protect their newer vehicles. However, our cages that we've released recently, people buy those all the time. They replace them on their old ones, on their new ones. So I'm hoping the cage sales target a bit more of the used or older side by sides, and I hope that'll sort of balance it out a little bit for us until they get the production going again.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things I wanted to explore with you guys too, especially with Chris and Joanna, and then Ryan, I'd like to come back to you on this as well, maybe from an academic standpoint. How do you get the word out there? I mean, obviously, there's a tight community of side by side owners, right? There's almost a tribe of people that love this stuff, and they go out, and we have the Hatfield and McCoy Trail, and you can go ride all these amazing places all over West Virginia. But how does the word get out there beyond West Virginia about what you guys are doing?
I'd say Facebook is probably 90% of why we're where we are at today. There's a pile of forums. Just like our main unit is the Honda Talon, and there is a pile of forums that are just Honda Talon related. And you won't see somebody post, "Hey, what are the best kickers? What is the toughest bumper?" And it's just like the comments are just warhead, 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 warhead. And that's, if you look in the top recommended companies in these forums, we're in the top 3 on
Wow,
most of them.
that's
And some of
incredible.
these forums have 20, 25,000 people in them.
Really.
Yeah.
So Chris, from to expand on that, first of all, how does that make you feel? As far as like you see yourself as one of the top 3 recommended companies on these forums. How does that make you feel about what you're doing, you and Joanna both?
It was a bit nerve wracking to start with, to be honest with you, because I'm probably my worst critic when it comes to our products. And
Sure.
you never know because the people, they just love to complain, I guess I could say. So, you get on the forums, they start posting pictures. I always look at the picture and then I slowly scroll up to see their comments, because they could be complaining about something, or you never really know. So that was a bit nerve wracking for a while, but now it's because we're new products. We had little fitment issues here and there. We had to redesign all kinds of things, but now it's pretty rewarding to go on there and see. I don't have to go on there and advertise anymore. All my former customers do it for us. So
Wow, that's
it's
incredible.
pretty,
Yeah.
I guess they're not former. We have a lot of return customers. They'll buy a piece here and a piece there, and they just keep telling everybody how great their stuff is.
Yeah.
Facebook can be really good, or it
Really
could be
bad.
really bad. So it's a double-edged sword, I guess you'd say. So, but we are trying to get more locally too. So Facebook obviously is countrywide, and we have a lot of business countrywide. But we plan to this year, hopefully we have time to go to more of these like benefit rides and things locally, and just get out there and shake hands with the people that ride around here, and get more known that way, because that would be great to have just people that can come to the shop and do things like that, and that'll let us get into more different style products as well. So
Yeah, that's super cool. Ryan, I'm going to come back to you. Like I said, from a marketing standpoint, it sounds like these guys are crushing it, doing sort of an organic Facebook forum campaign. They're really talking to their tribe. They're creating raving fans of their products. Weigh in on that.
Yeah, I don't know. That sounds like they got to figure it out pretty well. I don't know. They don't need the advice on this.
No, I'm saying from, from a marketing standpoint, what you're, is that kind of align with what you guys teach at the College of Business Economics? Are they a good example of what that looks like?
Yeah, customer discovery is actually, it's kind of hard sometimes for a lot of businesses, and you have to find where your customers are and talk to them. And you have to
Exactly.
kind of understand the way I teach it, at least, is there's this book by Clayton Christensen called Competing Against Luck. And but basically it talks about trying to find the job your customers are trying to do rather than just like focusing on demographics of the customers. And so that, anyway, it's a really interesting book, and it gets into like, you want to get inside the customer's head and understand what on earth makes them go onto a forum on Facebook and start asking people what, tree kicker should I get for my UTV.
Yeah.
And it can help you, for any business, right? Kind of better understand your customer, understand how to reach them, understand what you need to tell them.
Yeah, absolutely. As you guys may know or may not know, my company is Interaction Media, and it's a marketing agency, and we help our clients talk to the right people at the right time with the right message. That to me is the basic definition of marketing, talking to the right people at the right time with the right message. So whether they're asking a question on a forum and somebody else is able to help you guys expand your message, right? That's important. Chris, you mentioned that you were doing some advertising on Facebook. You no longer have to do that because it's kind of got a life of its own, and that organic reach is just as important, I think, a lot of times than anything else you can do out there. We used to talk about, I've been a media advertising marketing guy since 1988 when I graduated from the advertising school at WVU. And I used to always talk about, I would talk to my customers back in the early days selling radio and newspaper ads. And they would always say, my best advertising is word of mouth, right?
Mhm.
And they would say, that's my best advertising. Well, social media is now the new word of mouth, right? Everybody has their own media channel. We have the ability to reach literally thousands or tens of thousands of people with a single piece of content that we publish on all the social media channels. And I think that's pretty incredible. And so the timing of your business startup and the fact that you're trying to reach this particular niche of people, this audience of people, and obviously, when I say talking to the right people at the right time, the right people is your audience. You have to know who your tribe is. And Ryan, I think your idea of what was the name of that book again? I didn't catch that.
It was Competing Against Luck.
We'll have to put a link of that in the show notes as well. Understanding who your target audience is important, but really solving the problem is just as important, I think. Understanding what the problem that they're facing is and how your solution ties into that. And so, whether it's a product that protects your UTV or whatever it might be, I think that's essential as well. Guys, I want to talk a little bit about some things that you're obviously in the last 12 15 months we've all been through a lot, and as we're talking right now, the CDC has changed their mask guidelines. The governor's talking about lifting the guideline or the mask mandate, and we've all been dealing with this stuff for 15 16 months. I would like to know first from Joanna, and then we're going to go around the horn, a leadership lesson that you've learned in the last year or so.
Well, I think I maybe try to lead by example. I don't ask any of our employees to do stuff that I wouldn't at least try to do on my own. I mean, I'm there, well, I do the powder coating, but I'm there building boxes with them, sweeping the floor, anything. So try to, show that we're all part of a team and have that strong bond. So I think I've grown in that sense over the last year.
That's awesome. I love it. Chris, how about your leadership lesson?
You stole my answer. It's pretty much the same thing. We have all different skill sets in our shop. There's 8 of us now total, including me and Joe. And some guys are welders and some are not. And I task them with pretty much all the same jobs, no matter what it is. If, like she said, if it's sweeping, picking up, cutting metal, if you want to weld, we'll try and teach you. We're all on the same level there. So that kind of creates a nice morale in the shop. One of the things that really excites all the guys is we went and bought a smoker. So now I cook for them guys every day. They bring food a different day. So that's a good morale booster. Trying to keep the morale up in my opinion, is a pretty good, way to lead a company. A bunch of grumpy employees do a bunch of bad work. So we try to keep everybody happy and,
Have fun.
And we have fun. We have a lot of fun in there, actually. It's a pretty fun time. There's a couple of yahoos we got in there just make you laugh all day long. So it's pretty awesome.
That's very cool. I could just imagine with the smoked brisket at lunchtime and the
Making me hungry, man.
squeezing around, and you guys are, sparks are flying and metal's being bent into shape. That sounds like an awesome place to visit and to work. Ryan, from your perspective, obviously you're a professor of entrepreneurship at a major Big 12 land grant institution. What's a leadership lesson you've learned in the last 12 months?
Well, it sounds like Chris and Joanna were able to kind of stay connected physically with their employees, right? Working in the shop together. But I guess the thing I've learned more than anything is you cannot underestimate the value in leadership of forming true, sincere, physical, like touch, look people in the eyes, shake their hands, do activities together, get the smoker and laugh and tell jokes. Like you just cannot overestimate the effect that has, right, on an organization and the power that it can really have. And so it's been, we've made it through just fine, right? We taught our students, they're graduating, and for the most part, everything turned out okay. But there was something missing the whole time. I'll tell you that as professor, and the students, I'm sure, would be very happy to vocalize that as well. In the Seed, West Virginia, we had all these judges come together, these great people. I never met any of them, right? I've never shaken Chris or Joanna's hand and told them congratulations. It's just so weird, right? And I hope that going forward, we can get back to real, true, like more sincere interpersonal relationships.
Oh, it's absolutely true. I read an article recently because I've been talking about this in some of the groups, whether it's my some of my networking groups, like the Morgantown Area Partnership or BNI or my Rotary Club, and heck, even at church. It's we've had to communicate through this platform that we're on right now, the Zoom platform or Teams or whatever you're using, Skype. And this article was talking about communication, and how we, in a sense, utilizing these technology platforms, we've lost the ability to have that disruptive communication. Like if I was stepping on Ryan, I'd be like, "Oh, okay, go ahead, Ryan." But when we're a person, we have these interpersonal skills that we're able to use, whether it's physical, body language, whether it's eye contact, whatever it might be, that we're able to have those collaborative conversations. And in this electronic platform, everything is like diced and sliced, on the fly, and it's very hard to have those kinds of communications. I keep thinking that once we get back here and start opening up here in the weeks to come, that we're going to have to all reacclimate to communicating with each other in person. I think it's going to be a difficult thing, especially, I have a hearing deficit anyway, so I depend on reading people's lips a lot of times, and I can't see when they have a mask on. I'm like, I have no idea what you're saying. So, all right. Well, those are great leadership lessons, guys. I want to talk about some advice for entrepreneurs right now, and I want to kind of go around the horn again, and just I would like to kind of get off the top of your head a piece of advice you guys would give to an entrepreneur thinking about an idea, thinking about, wow, I'm stuck in this job that I really don't like, and I've been wanting to start my own company. I don't know exactly what to do. What's one piece of advice you would give? Chris, I would like to start with you.
Well, on a little bit of a different sense, I would say, put all you have into it, but, balance your family life. I think that's very important. I struggle with that a little bit because I can get up at 6 and I can probably work till 10 every night, but I got 2 little kids at home, and I had to make a decision I was just telling Joe about this last night. I had to make a decision where I got to start to balance my family time because I was working way too much. And, starting a new business, it is very difficult. It's stressful, especially when you don't have, we put all our own money into this and all of it. So, and, it's cyclic, it goes up and it's down. Just, stay positive, but make sure you maintain a balance in your life because it'll just wear you out. It'll burn your health out. You'll get sick. Just find that balance or it's not worth it.
Yeah, that's
I
good.
don't know if that's good advice or not, but
I love it. I mean, I think it's spot on. Joe, talk a little bit about advice you'd give to an entrepreneur starting up.
Um, I along those lines, I would say don't underestimate the time and hard work that goes into doing something like this. It doesn't mean to be afraid of it or don't to discourage you. Just don't underestimate it and be ready for it, or it will kind of hit you that, oh, this requires a lot more effort than I, thought. But other than that, like, go for it. You'll never know if you could spend your whole life thinking that you should have done this, or if you only would have tried this. And when there's no better time to do it than now. So that's my thought.
I love it. If I hadn't started my own company, I'd be ready to go right now. That's what you said. Ryan, talk a little bit about advice you would give, from an academic standpoint.
Well, I guess I would build on what Joanna was just saying in that, you don't know until you try. So you might as well try. I mean, it's never been easier to do hybrid entrepreneurship than now. Like, you can keep your day job and dip your toes in the water and find out. And so, in my class that I taught this last semester, the students they spent the first semester in the fall coming up with the business idea and validating it. The second semester, they had to actually launch it and make sales.
Wow.
And it was really fun. It was really fun to watch them because, as Chris and Joanne were just saying, they really vastly underestimated how much time it was going to take to do any part of the, how long it's going to take to build a website and put products on it. How am I going to convince these other students to work with me on this and get them to actually do the work they say they're going to do? And how am I going to actually market to customers and get them to buy my stuff? And so they seem to have liked it a lot. And so I think the only way to know if you're going to like entrepreneurship is just try it.
Yeah, I love that. I always talk about, you don't necessarily have to take a leap of faith. You could take a step of faith. We call it the side hustle these days, right? You could start your side hustle, and not have to, to walk away from a paid gig or your day job or whatever. You can start this, and I think, to Chris's point, you got to balance that, right? You can't be working, a 10-hour shift and then come home and spend 8 hours working on your side hustle. And then you're sacrificing your health and everything else. But I think there are ways to do those things. And to Joanna's point, there's never been an easier time or a better time, I think, to start something like that. I really think that was great advice. And I think that, Ryan, I want to commend you for, from an educator's perspective of actually, kind of, in a sense, making these students start their company and try to go get sales and stuff. I think that's awesome. Just listening to that, I'm like, yes, that's exactly right. You can't just read it out of a book. You actually have to go out and do it. And I think that is super awesome. And, Ryan, I wanted to follow up on that. I sense that there's a real big shift towards this entrepreneurial spirit in not only in America, but right here in West Virginia. Is that something you're seeing also with your students? Are they finding like that? Are they, kind of seeing the opportunity that's there and wanting to dive into more like, starting their own company, their small business or whatever?
Well, I sure hope so. I will say the one thing we've noticed this year in particular, so we have deposits for incoming freshmen and they declare a major at this time, which we used to have about, the entrepreneurship program at WVU is very new. It's only a couple of years old.
Yeah.
So we'd had about, 10 or so students per year coming in. And this year it's up to 34. So we more than tripled the number of incoming freshmen who want to study entrepreneurship. And I think it is reflecting a growing trend here in the state.
Yeah, absolutely.
General, that these kids, when they're coming in, they say they don't want to work for someone else when they graduate, right? And whether they end up doing that or not, they want to get the skills that will enable them to not have to if they don't want to. And so this is one way that they can accomplish that is through a degree in entrepreneurship.
Well, and I know that WVU is doing this through high schools and other entities, but I think exposing people, young people especially, that hey, this is an option. That's really part of my mission here at Positively West Virginia, is talking about these stories, just like Chris and Joanna and their company, Warhead Off-Road, to let folks know that you guys are inspirational. I mean, what you guys have done is truly inspiring to hear. And we're trying to equip folks with these types of stories so that they can go, wow, okay, let's plant a seed here and give people a vision of what could be with their journey and their career, right? And bringing more people back to West Virginia, keeping our young people in West Virginia, and unleashing the power of entrepreneurship in our state. I think that is in essence what this show is all about. I've been helping small business and entrepreneurs my entire career through advertising and marketing, just like I said, and just the opportunity to be able to reach a couple thousand people with Chris and Joanna's story, Ryan with what you're doing with the WVU College of Business and Economics and Entrepreneurship Studies. I think it's just awesome, and I'm just honored to be a part of that. So, as we close out our time here, guys, I want to give Chris and Joanna with Warhead Off-Road an opportunity to mention anything else about your company that you think our audience would like to know, and then we're going to go around the horn with our positive things we're positive and optimistic about right now. But Chris, Joanna, is there anything else about your company that you think we need to hit on before we close out our time here?
I don't know. I think we just try to do it differently than everybody else. We take a lot of care in our products, and all the way it's to handling the customers. It's starting to get a little overwhelming. I try to be available to all the customers, but we're getting several hundred, and it's I've tried to talk to them one-on-one, but that as we grow, that gets more difficult. But like I said, we just try to be different, stand out, make a better product at a similar price. So it kind of sets us aside.
Joe, do you have anything to add?
I mean, not really. Customer service is a huge thing for us. So we trying to answer every email and call and all that. But yeah, like you said, there's a west coast of this country. There's people calling at 10, 11 o'clock at night. So we're having to learn our limits and our lines, I think.
Yeah. The boundaries.
And hopefully that doesn't sacrifice our customer service, but yeah.
I think it's a growing pain that it's actually something that's a good thing. You guys are growing and you're learning, and I think that's super cool. So Ryan, I would like to start with you, and let's kind of close out our time here by what's one thing you're optimistic about right now?
I'm really optimistic on this Ascend WV program and bringing people here to the state and getting them to come and stay, and really optimistic about just the economic development going here in terms of entrepreneurship. I feel like I should put a plug in. Ann Jones was recently hired as the new director of Startup West Virginia within WVU. And Joanne had talked about there are all these resources available out there to entrepreneurs. And if you're looking for like one person to reach out to who can connect you to all of these economic development players, Ann Jones would be a great place to start.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for that. And Ryan, maybe she would be good to have on one of these podcasts as well.
She'd be great.
Make that connection for us. That'd be amazing. Joanna, what's one thing you're optimistic about right now?
I hope we can sort of go along with this Ascend West Virginia and be one of the reasons someone would move to West Virginia, riding side-by-sides, the Hatfield McCoy's trails. So that can be on the list of outdoor activities for West Virginia. And if we can somehow get involved or support that would be amazing for everyone as well.
Awesome. Love it. Chris.
I'm optimistic about our future and the side-by-side market future. It's something I'm getting passionate about. And I just hope we can grow it locally, especially there's talk of new trail systems and stuff, even locally around here. So that would be huge. And I've already reached out to, I guess, the planners and organizers of those up and coming trail systems to see what we can do to be a part of that. And I think that's what I'm optimistic about, being a pretty large integral part of the community, especially when it comes to side-by-sides. Because if you ever come down here, there are side-by-sides whipping up and down the highway, the interstate, they're everywhere.
Interstate?
This morning, the guy was driving one down the interstate. They're not
Oh.
supposed to, but they were. They're everywhere, these side-by-sides.
We don't encourage that.
Yeah,
Some of my friends, they have 10,000 miles on their side-by-side. 10,000 miles.
That's
And he's
awesome.
had it for a year.
I love it. I mean, that's good stuff, and that's part of the cool aspect of living right here in West Virginia. Our guests again today are Joanna and Chris Reynolds. They're the owners of Warhead Off-Road, located over in Preston County in Hazleton, near the Hazleton Prison. And Ryan Angus, he's an assistant professor of entrepreneurship at the John Chambers College of Business and Economics at West Virginia Universities. Guys, it's been awesome. If you guys are side-by-side riders and you haven't checked out Warhead Off-Road, you got to check out their line of products on their website. We have it on the chat there and Facebook Live. And I just want to encourage you guys, if you're out and you're doing some of these fundraisers, rides, these what did you call them, Joanna? The fundraiser drives or benefit drives? Yeah, out there this year. You look for Chris and Joanna Reynolds out there on the trail, and say hello to them, shake their hand, and give them a big hug. That'd be awesome. But they're doing great things. And guys, I'm inspired by your story. And Ryan, from your perspective, I want to encourage folks for next year to be on the lookout. We put a link to the CWV website page on the chat as well. Be on the lookout for that, because you too, if you have a great idea and can pitch it right, you can be just like Chris and Joanna Reynolds and be the recipient of some cash to help advance your company. I think that's an awesome program. Guys, thank you so much for being on the show today. It's been awesome. And I'm inspired. I'm fired up. I want to go out and make some sales and get some business done.
Awesome.
Thanks for having us. It was really fun.
Absolutely. Folks, that's it for today's Positively West Virginia Small Business Mastermind. Our hope is that we brought you some valuable insight that you could use in your business journey today to win. I also want to take a moment to thank our sponsors for the Positively West Virginia Small Business Mastermind. They are the State Journal, WV News, and Interaction Media. Positively West Virginia is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. You can learn more about our mission of advancing small business and entrepreneurship in West Virginia at positivelywv.com. On behalf of our entire Interaction Media team, including our producer today, Eric Tomlinson, I'm your host, Jim Matuga. Stay positive, West Virginia.